This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to a regular town board meeting. It's September 11th, 2017, 7 p.m. Would you all please rise and join Councilman Tim Brewer in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you and welcome. The first item I'd like to get out of the way is an effort on behalf of Mary Lee Goslin, my wife Chris Strow, and Tim Brewer. And that is to pick the residential and commercial properties that are deserving of the Town of Queensbury's Beautification Committee Award. So the cover letter reads, "Dear recipient, the Town of Queensbury's Beautification Committee has recognized your commercial residential property. We are pleased to present to you the Certificate of Appreciation for Commercial and/or Residential Beautification. Your attention and efforts to maintain and enhance the beauty of the area is greatly appreciated. Thank you for making Town of Queensbury a better place to work and live." So we have Landcrafter on 704 Glen Street. Lewis Jewelers, 1054 State Route 9. Kelly's Roots, 13.5 Luzerne Road. Springbrook Hollow Farm, 133 Clemens Road. Barbara and Kevin Coates, 28 Mohawk Trail. David Howard, 500 Luzerne Road. Louise Craig Sherman, 70 Country Club Road. And Cindy Matthew Conlon on 20 Brookfield Run. So those were selected as commercial and residential properties around the town of Queensbury that onlookers thought deserved some extra special attention. So I want to thank you, and we've sent the certificates out to the following. And, you know, and many others are just as deserving to help make Queensbury look like a beautiful place to live. And so I just want to thank you, and I think Queensbury is a beautiful place to live. Okay. Next on our agenda is moving into a Board of Health to deal with one sewage disposal variance request. So is there a motion to move into the Board of Health?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Brewer, seconded by Councilman Clements. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're now into the Board of Health. So the item that we deal with first and only, please, Rose.
This is a public hearing on sewage disposal variance application of Joe Orlo.
All right, Joe Orlo lives on 11 Wagon Trail, and he lives in a place that has a very small lot. And he was before us January 9th of this year to try and squeeze the septic system in. And we said, Joe, that's pretty tough. So we asked him to consider a holding tank, and he is. But even the holding tank, given the constraints of the property, does require some variances. For example, to be 40 feet from the well instead of the 50-foot setback. Again, it's a holding tank. Storage tank to be 4 foot from the house instead of the required 10-foot setback. Storage tank or holding tank to be 4 foot from the property line instead of the required 10-foot well, and 25 foot from the neighbor's dry well or seepage pit instead of the required 150-foot setback. Well to be 56 feet from the neighbor's dry well or seepage pit instead of the required 150-foot setback. Well to be 119 feet from the neighbor's dry well instead of the required 150-foot setback. Well to be 131 feet from the neighbor's dry well or seepage pit instead of the required 150-foot setback. And well to be 139 feet from the neighbor's dry well or seepage pit instead of the required 150-foot setback. And again, like I said, it's a very small lot, and if this individuals get any use out of it, what we suggested a holding tank. So there's where they did. I see the applicant and the applicant's consulting engineer are both here. Would one or both like to come forward?
Be happy to if.
Is there anything else that you would
I was
want
gonna
me
say, you took all my thunder away. I'm not
Okay.
sure what I could say, but,
All right.
one of the,
Well, you'll have to come up here, Gary.
yeah. One of the things that I would point out is, because we do have, the wells located, close to some of the dry wells, but, the reason that we don't think it's gonna be an issue is because these dry wells, the lake is over here, and the groundwater is running this way. Groundwater is quite deep. And what would happen is that something coming out of this dry well is gonna head toward the lake. So most of it's gonna be away from our well, so we're not too worried about our well. And our holding tank is also downstream, so.
What about the rest of the wells on the other adjoining properties, though?
Well,
Do we know where they are? I know it's not your job to tell us where they are, but just,
this is a well behind the house across the street from us.
okay.
This is the well
Oh, all
behind the
right, so
house
you do have
behind
them,
us,
just this is the only one
and this is one
for the
in
front.
back.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those are all,
And we do meet the separations from
For
our
those,
holding
yeah.
tank to those wells.
And the holding tank will have the electronic alarm, so when it gets to a certain level, you know, it's time to pump it out, so forth.
Right, it meets all the health department requirements. It goes off, the tank's designed, if it was full-time use, it'd have about 20 days of storage. It's designed so after 16 days, 15 days, the alarm would go off, give them time to have it pumped. But we're thinking that probably it won't get that use, it won't get daily use. It's gonna be probably maybe once a month, once every 2 months, once a summer that it's gonna be
Mhm.
pumped, you know, so
Yeah,
not such a big deal.
okay. Any questions from the board? Nothing. At this time? Okay, thanks, Gary. I may ask you to come back.
Sure.
I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this application for sanitary sewage disposal variance? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and to the
I
microphone.
really don't want to be televised.
you have to be.
You have to be. You can always submit something in writing, but,
Well, my house is the one that is.
And your name,
affected the
ma'am?
most. Pat Sorcino, I do have the map.
Catherine Orstino?
Patricia Sorcino.
Sorrentino.
I know how difficult it is because everybody does have small properties, but it's a very odd situation because that house broke away from a cluster that had a group septic system and a group water system. So this lot never really had its own water. And he doesn't live in the house. There's been a tarp on the house for the last 3 years.
Yeah, we're after him for that.
Well, you mentioned that he's living in the house. I think you said he was living there. But the house was renovated by somebody that did work on our house, and it's a big problem. Nothing was done properly. And it's taken us 3 years to fix our house. And the same thing happened with that house. It was a builder who didn't get any permits and went ahead and then put a tarp over it. So what's there, like what is it that's there that we're gonna build?
Well, The house itself,
It's sitting in the dirt. It's actually sitting in the dirt. The wood is sitting in the dirt. There's no fence.
yeah, but do you have any opposition for him to be putting in a holding tank?
A holding tank for what?
It's for
Septic.
the wastewater.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that it seems to be that
Everything else should be in,
everything
Up
else
to
should have
code.
been, like, why aren't we looking at this house before we're getting a well and water? Because this house didn't get any inspection on anything that was done on it.
Well, I understand.
Then it was hidden it was worked on with a top on it.
Well, I understand that Mr. Hatton and Mr. Orlow have,
We don't know anything, we just watched.
yeah, the town has been communicating with him on those matters that you bring up.
Okay.
And he will have to resolve those matters.
When we got this paper
Yes.
on all the setbacks, it's not very clear on who's affected, and I don't have a lot of time. I went to the town today and got the map, I have my map. And I know that two of them that I'm concerned about were, this isn't even the right one, it's this one here. The number 3, 4 feet instead of 10, and
Yes.
25 feet instead of 150. And that seems a little close for comfort, and if I spoke to I spoke to my family members, and they seem a little concerned if something fails, then what happens to Orwell?
Well, the thing about it is, he was before us before with the septic system, and we shared many of your concerns. Now it's in a storage tank, fully sealed, fully enclosed.
My son said it could leak.
If they leak, you have to get them pumped out every so often. If they leak, that will be something that will be brought
I know a
to-
lot of people in the lake that don't get anything pumped out.
They should.
I pump out every year, we pump out, we inspect it, we want to keep what we have,
Well,
and we
I-
take care of what we have, but a lot of people don't take care of what they have.
And you're right, and that's wrong.
So with that being said, we also had a hard time doing what we wanted to do on a lot that's double the size.
Yeah.
And there was already a brand-new septic system that was there. But that's enough. I could talk about that for hours. But anyway, I'm just concerned about, my drinking water, the well being so close to my well, his septic right on top. It's like, it's right on top of us.
I know,
You want to
it's
see
an
a map of
unusual,
my property?
unusual situation there. Yeah, are you included
I know,
in
it's
that?
really not, it's a very unusual situation. I don't know why the town of Queensbury doesn't get water to us over there, and then everybody would have no problem on Lake Sunnyside.
Yeah, that's something we could look into.
we have
Everybody would get a new septic system if we had water. Because it becomes so difficult and, it's so, what, in this day and age, not to have water it's not that far from here.
Right. No, I mean, that's something we could look at.
do we have a list or I didn't have any knowledge of the stuff that's going on over there, John, but I don't know if I feel comfortable giving variances for a property that's sitting on dirt and we have issues with the building department.
Well, those are.
I'd like to know what they are. I mean, because if he's treating us like that with the issues that this lady's talking about, I'm not so certain we're gonna get done what we asked him to do. Just my own opinion.
Yeah, okay.
We were over there in January or February,
Mhm.
whenever it was. At least half the house is on foundation. So,
So
and
how
to
is
your
it now?
point, no water can go in if water can't go out. So,
There's a big water problem there also. There is like a drainage problem when there's weather and then there's snow and it's a dirt road and, my husband has to grade our area again. Our house was sunk too low and he's having a difficult time regrading our own home there. And, we have an infiltration system on our home also, and we're not that, I mean, I want him to have, I could see where I would want somebody to have what they have, but not at the cost of me, losing what I have.
Yeah, you have a filtration system here according to the map.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
But I'm very, I'm very careful about what goes in my body.
I say I went over and looked at it too, and I really wasn't looking to see if the house was on a foundation, and I was looking more about where the tank was gonna be and how close the other houses were.
Well, I'm not so sure if those are the issues that are before us tonight.
I understand that.
I mean, if there are issues that concern you, if we can, have Dave Hatton give us a report.
Jen, can I just say a couple of things?
Yes, is that okay if we,
Oh, sure.
do you have any more questions or thoughts?
No, I'm good.
But you're welcome to listen to him, and if you do.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but the reason that we're here.
Yes.
Because like you say, we do have some issues with Dave and also the planning department. We met with them, we talked with them about how to proceed, and what they told us is we needed to come here first, and then we would be going to planning or ZBA after this. So we came here first because that's what they told us.
So what are the variances you need after here?
Well, there's variances for different things for the building, setbacks and things like that. So we would go back and go.
How many variances for the
They wanted to know that the
ZBA?
house had some kind of a septic system first. Right?
Yes.
Okay, I get
right,
that.
Right. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. Might be 4 or 5. I just don't recall off the top of my head. But we've met with Dave, we've met with Laura in the planning department, and as soon as we get through here, we schedule a meeting with Laura.
Is there plans to do, what are you gonna plan to do to the house if you need these variances? Just out of,
Well, the house, I can show you.
I mean, if everything's predicated on us giving you a septic variance,
That would be the next step, for us to go there after this.
Right.
I mean, we have some preliminary plans just to,
you wanna rebuild the house.
well, it's gonna be finished.
Mhm.
I believe it is on concrete piers, but that's, we can,
Right.
we'll look into that if it's not, but I think it is. But this is, meeting with Dave, what he said was, look, why don't you come up with what you're gonna do, what you think you're gonna do, and then we'll take this to the planning board, and then after you get done, you can finalize everything. I don't know if you know the steps that they go through, but. So this is what we came up with, we showed it to Dave. This is pretty much what's there, but it is, got a tarp over it, there's not a roof on it, a finished roof. But that's where we are with it. It's just a simple one-bedroom building.
Okay.
It's the same footprint as what's there now.
Same footprint as what's there, yep, as what was there before they started the renovation, yeah.
So I can think of no other safer way of handling wastewater than a holding tank.
I agree with you.
I mean, safer for the neighbors, safer for the occupant of the house.
For everybody it
safer
is.
for Sunnyside, Lake Sunnyside. Okay, all right, thank you, Gary. Anything else, Mrs. Saraceno?
No.
I guess what I was saying, trying to get at, John, is if the stuff is the way it is now, and we're having trouble with the building department, are we gonna get what's on this print when we say okay to them? I guess is what my point was.
Well, it's up to other individuals.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, so. Any other member of the public wish to speak to this application? Yes, sir.
Hi, Travis Whitehead. I don't know how you can go ahead and focus on that little green box and then completely ignore what's outside of that. I mean, you 4 people are the Board of Health right now. You do know that there are other issues there. you know that there are like 17,000 other residents in this town that are relying on you to make sure that things are done right. And you look at that little green box, you've even heard Mr. Gary, I don't remember your last name, but at one point saying, you know, everyone has systems similar to this, some better, some similar. It's been mentioned before, months ago. And I'm not sure that I've heard anybody come back and say, yeah, we've done a look here and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The question is, what about outside of that green box? And what, if anything, does the Board of Health, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, what are they going to do about it? That's my question.
Well, the answer is that the original proposal for a ground infiltration system, which required more variances and posed particular dangers to properties that surrounded that box, this board in this day and age would not have created a cluster like that to begin with. This is what it is. The individuals still have property rights, still have a right to use their property. Now, we've asked the individual to go to a holding tank because that is the safest form of taking care of the wastewater that may come from that house without jeopardizing the neighbors. This Board of Health has done their job. Okay. Any other members of the public like to speak to this application? Seeing none. Thoughts from the town board?
I would like to go take another look at it, so, if this is tabled or we don't act on it tonight, I'd go and take another look. If it's not tabled, my vote would be no.
I would like a list of the stuff that's not being done, or that they're having issues with Dave.
Okay.
And I would predicate an approval on that stuff being taken care of before we get this approval to him.
So you both want to be able to talk to Dave to see
Yep.
what the future holds?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I looked at was where the septic, I didn't know that there were any other problems that were going on with it. So I'd like to take a look at the whole project before I vote on it.
Okay. Well, I'll keep the public hearing open, and I'll put this on the next meeting, and you two can find out the loose ends that will make you more satisfied that you have the answers you're seeking.
Okay.
And we'll bring it back at our next regular town board meeting, which will be
2 weeks from today?
2 weeks from today, 15th? 25th, I mean, yeah. Okay. So Gary, we'll put you back on the 25th. We'll leave the public hearing open.
Okay. Is there someone I could call to try to set something up so we could go to this site?
Yeah, call my office, and,
Okay.
and Victoria Lamarck will organize a site visit on any town board members that want to go back and revisit the site. Okay?
Time better than another? Evening, daytime, weekend?
Next week is probably better, and I'm Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays are better for me.
It's fine.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, having no other items for the Board of Health, is there a motion to move out of the Board of Health?
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion made by Councilman Brewer,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilman Clements. All those in favor of moving out of the Board of Health, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. We're now out of the Board of Health. Next on the agenda is the resolutions. We have 19 before us tonight. I will briefly go through and describe each one. There is an agenda up here. If you wish to come up and grab one, you're welcome to that. And I will give an opportunity for the public to speak to any of the resolutions before us. Now, this segment of the meeting deals with the resolutions only. If you have some interest or some town issue that you wish to speak to that does not directly deal with the resolutions, I will give you the opportunity towards the end of the meeting to do so. All right. Resolution 3-1, Rose.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Cheap Pete's Lawn Care to mow additional abandoned or neglected properties.
Okay, 2 more properties we're going to take a look at, and if this town board gives permission to go ahead, they'll get care taken by Cheap Pete. 16 Wayne Court and 1040 West Mountain Road. Resolution 3.2.
Resolution authorizing 2018 contract amount regarding transportation agreement between City of Glens Falls, Greater Glens Falls Transit System, and Town of Queensbury.
All right, every year Queensbury contributes to the bus system and the trolley system. And this year, it's going up about 2%. It's the first increase in 2 years. And so historically, it's been no increase or a slight increase. And the total amount of our contribution would be $57,977, where last year it was $56,840. Resolution 3.3.
Resolution authorizing advertisement of bids for sale of obsolete equipment.
Okay, these are some items from various departments which were considered to be surplus. And if it gets approved, they'll be going to Gov Deals and will be available for purchase. And there's a list of them, from string trimmers, vacuums, debris vacuums, snow blower, air compressor, Droid mini cell phone with case, and so forth. Resolution 3.4.
Resolution authorizing partial payment of real property taxes and parameters for such collection.
Okay. The town clerk, Caroline Barber, would like for us to approve the ability of our residents to pay their taxes in partial payments. New York State Legislature has adopted legislation providing for this. If the municipality accepts doing this, the municipality will accept partial payment of real property taxes so long as the municipality adopts a resolution allowing for such partial payments. So I asked Caroline, the town clerk, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, she would like to provide this option to our residents, and this is for town and county tax collection. She does and would like to provide an informational notice to the schools, but it's up to them to decide if they would like to accept partial payment individually. Resolution 3.5.
Resolution setting public hearing on Queensbury Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
All right. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the sanitary sewer district benefit tax rolls. By and large, the taxes are going to see very little in changing, but there will be a public hearing on these on September 25th. So there'll be a public hearing on the Queensbury Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District on September 25th. Resolution 3.6.
Resolution setting public hearing on Reservoir Park Sanitary Sewer District Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
And that public hearing will be September 25th. 3.7.
Another resolution setting public hearing on Route 9 Sanitary Sewer District Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
And that public hearing will be the 25th. Resolution 3.8.
Setting public hearing on South Queensbury, Queensbury Avenue Sanitary Sewer District Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
And that public hearing will be September 25th. Resolution 3.10.
3.9. Resolution setting public hearing on West Queensbury Sanitary Sewer District Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
And that resolution will be on September 25th. It's stuck. Resolution 3.10.
This is a resolution to amend 2017 budget.
Okay, and it's just we had some trees fall down in the July 1st storm, and so we're taking a little out of fuel where we don't need it and putting into tree removal. a little out of health insurance over to workman's comp. Just some slight shifts of financing. Resolution 311.
Resolution appointing Sarah Gordon to Town of Queensberry Cemetery Commission.
All right, we have a vacancy on the Cemetery Commission. Sarah Gordon has shown an interest in it, and both our cemetery superintendent, Connie Gettert, as well as the Cemetery Commission, has approved Sarah Gordon. And so this would start a new 3-year term for her, and she's already been attending meetings. Resolution 312.
Resolution appointing Melanie Dinwiddie as Secretary to Superintendent of Highways.
All right. The Secretary to the Superintendent of Highways recently submitted his resignation. And the Town Highway Superintendent, Tom Van Ness, has recommended that the Town Board authorize the appointment of Melanie Dinwiddie. And Tom has told me that he had several applications for this job. They interviewed at least 3 applicants for this job. She stood out as being outstanding. And I asked Tom, I said, is she going to be the person to help bring the highway department to the next level? And what do I mean by that? I mean that we're going to GPS all the stormwater devices that we have in town and make sure that they're put into a software maintenance program and make sure that maintenance is done to them on a regular basis, and so that we have a full accounting of our culverts, our dry wells, and so forth. And he assured me that she can do that job. So this is a resolution to appoint Melanie Dinwiddie as the Secretary to Superintendent of Highways. Resolution 313.
Resolution authorizing award of bid for traffic signal upgrades at intersection of Bay Road with Bay Bridge Drive and Willowbrook Road.
All right, we've been working on this one a long time. A lot of residents have requested a traffic signal at the intersection of Bay Road, Bay Ridge, and Willowbrook. We went through the county. The county did their assessment. They reviewed the traffic flows. They reviewed the traffic counts, the traffic accidents, and they said there is a need for a traffic signal here. So not only did the residents claim it, the studies also backed it up. So we secured the services of Barton & Judas. They have engineered a traffic signalization system for us there. We went out to bid for it, and Stilsing was the only, and it was, of course, the lowest, but it came in substantially under what we predicted the system would cost. So the amount of $117,300 for the entire signalization system we thought was very fair, and Stilsing will go ahead with that if this board approves that tonight. Resolution 314.
Resolution approving audit of bills, warrants of September 1st and September 12th, 2017.
Okay. So this is a warrant with a run date of September 1st and September 7th and payment dates of September 1st and September 12th, totaling $63,022.03 and $768,025.29 respectively. Bills have to be approved by this board before they get paid. Resolution 315.
Resolution calling upon the state legislature to enact legislation authorizing the town of Queensberry to diminish the Glen Lake Aquatic Plant Growth Control District in the town of Queensberry by removing certain parcels pursuant to town law section 202-C.
Okay, we've helped the Glen Lake residents form this Glen Lake Aquatic Plant Growth Control District in October 3rd of 2011. It's been very successful. I'm on Glen Lake on a regular basis. I've never seen it better. So I think Paul Derby and the other people who are working on this are doing a fine job. However, there are 5 properties that Paul Derby asked to be pulled from this district. Paul, do you want to explain, or?
Yeah, thank you. 4 of the properties that are originally in the district were part of the Sicard property. When that was rezoned, or they did changes to their property, For those that originally had lakefront access as a second tier, no longer have lakefront or lake access at all. So they requested that they removed from the tax district. The fifth one is a piece of property that is on the map as an island, but it actually is part of the wetland. It's unbuildable. You can't live on it. You couldn't possibly build on it. So that has been asked to be pulled off the tax.
And I've kayaked by it. And
you can't even tell it's an island.
It's
So
snake
Sicard
grass
asked
and
for the
stuff
other
like
four to be removed?
Correct.
Okay.
So the five, but it's interesting how the island, so-called island, which we all know it really isn't, came from a deed from Captain Michael Miller.
That's correct.
That goes back some. Okay, thank you, Paul.
Yep, welcome.
So, what this resolution does is move this forward, okay? So, these five properties really don't meet the criteria of the map plan and report of the Glen Lake Aquatic Plant Growth Control District as was intentioned. So we have reviewed Town Law 202-C and 202-C, paragraph 2, and it says that we must seek special legislation from Albany to pull these particular properties out of the district. So this resolution is saying, let's go forward and ask Albany to abide us in this matter. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Since you worked on this one? So next, we send it down to Albany for, and then it goes through the Albany legislature for approval and so
We'll reach out to Senator Little and Assemblyman Steck, ask them to sponsor the bill in their respective branches, and hopefully that'll move forward.
Okay. All right, thank you. Resolution 316.
It's a resolution setting a public hearing on Glen Lake Aquatic Plant Growth Control District Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
This public hearing will be September 25th, and there's no change from 2017. Went into 2018. Resolution 317.
Resolution setting public hearing on Lake Sunnyside Aquatic Plant Growth Control District Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
And this will be a public hearing for September 25th, and again, there's no change in the tax situation there. Resolution 318.
Resolution setting public hearing on North Queensbury Wastewater Disposal District, Dunham's Bay Benefit Tax Roll for 2017.
And that public hearing will be September 25th, and again, no change from 2017. Resolution, and the last one, 319.
Resolution authorizing settlement of pending Article 7 real property assessment cases commenced by Troy CMBS Property LLC regarding Kmart store property.
All right, well, John, this is one that you worked on, right?
Yep.
John Asplin. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to handle it?
No, it's just, it settles 2003 through 2016 Article 7 challenges. Pretty favorable outcome for the town. The school district is considering a sister resolution, if you will. As you know, the school district's potential payback is much greater than ours. But we were able to get the total refund number to a place that seemed to make sense for everyone, and it resolved 13 years worth of continued and ongoing litigation with some prospective relief for the next 3 years going forward.
So going forward, it'd be valued at $5 million?
$5 million going, yeah, for 17, 18, and 19.
And so the total amount due to the various entities will be $750,000. Out of that, the town will have to pay out $9,790, and then town special districts will have to pay out $81,369. The county, $124,868, and the school, $533,973. But I understand the school approved this.
They're meeting, I think, right now. So.
Oh, okay. So this is pending their approval.
No, this is
our
our
saying,
resolution. They are considering whether or not they would like to approve it
All right.
tonight as well.
Okay, well, it says whereas the Union Free School District, Queensbury Union Free School District will be recommending approval of the proposed settlement.
Yeah, they're gonna recommend, the board's attorney is recommending they approve it. That's a significant savings off both the petitioned amount and what had previously been negotiated as a potential resolution.
Okay, thank you, John.
So that's a payback of some of their taxes that they paid already.
Right.
Right, it's a, imagine it's a refund of taxes that they feel were overcharged between 2003 and 2016.
You know what their taxes were? What their total taxes were?
Per year, I don't know, back in the office, I have a file about this thing, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's a very small amount compared to what they've been paying for taxes.
The refund? Oh, yeah, over the court, because we're resolving 13 years worth of tax challenges. You know, the original requests were much greater numbers than what we've been able to come to as a resolution in this resolution. But yeah, I could get you the exact number that they pay, and I know that Terry mentioned it to me a while back when she did a little spreadsheet for us on how this was going to work. When we got to the number that's in the resolution on Friday afternoon, she was a happy assessor with how it looked like it's going to work out.
Good, thank you.
Good.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Rose. Now, I'll open it to the public. We have 19 resolutions before us. Are there any of them that you'd like to ask about? Yes, sir.
I have Jim Mackey, Town of Queensbury. I'd like to ask a couple of questions about 3.4. Does the resolution have any requirement or schedule that would dictate the rate at which payment must be made? In other words, can I pay $2 before the first is due and pay the rest in 11 days?
I think there's a percentage.
Minimum bill will be $100. Minimum payment, 25% of the balance of taxes due. A $5 surcharge per partial payment shall be imposed. Interest and penalties shall be charged against the unpaid balance only.
So will the interest be the same as what is currently charged for a late payment?
Only on the unpaid balance.
I understand that, but it will be that rate?
The same rate.
Okay, thank you.
I should say that's our understanding. It's not in
Yeah.
here, though.
Right. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Right?
Say that it was changing, so
Yeah, nobody changing. Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer Switzer, 40 Brick Oven Road, the town of Queensbury. I have a question on the same resolution. My question goes to how this will affect the cash flow for the town. Has this been calculated in any way, shape, or form, or discussed with the town budget officer?
I'm not sure how it'll affect the cash flow. I don't see too many people doing this. Because you're going to pay a $5 surcharge, you're going to pay interest on the unpaid balance. I mean,
Well, I'm sure there's situations where people can invest their money and make more money holding their money back and paying these penalties and fees versus, now that they're allowed to make partial payments.
well, I don't know how it's going to affect the cash flow. I would say that there's so little of this that I would not expect it to have any impact on the cash flow.
I was just curious as to
Yeah.
whether that,
It's a fair question. I don't think it would have a significant impact on the cash flow.
I think the intent of this was for those folks that maybe get a income tax return and have cash that they, would otherwise just spend. They can go and say, all right, I want to pay, X number of dollars to offset my September tax bill. It wasn't meant to prolong the taxes. It was just meant to, you know, put money into an account so you can accrue a credit for an upcoming bill. That was my understanding of it.
I don't think that's the case.
It's not?
It was my understanding that sometimes people don't have enough money to pay the whole bill.
Right.
Where they may be able to pay half of their bill and then maybe a few months later be able to pay the balance. That was the understanding that Caroline explained to me.
Yeah.
Like somebody comes in with $1,000 and their bill's $2,000. We have to send them away because we can't take partial
Right,
payments.
you can't take partial payments, so the
I
partial
apologize.
payment would at least allow the person to pay on their
It
bill.
was just the opposite, that if they had extra cash, they could pay ahead
No,
of time. So-
not that I'm aware of, Tony. I thought it was to make it easier for the person that didn't have all the money at once to be able to pay 4 payments rather than just one
So
payment.
I'll ask the question, could you prepay? Will you accept prepayment?
Why would you?
Why wouldn't you?
Prepay?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you keep your money until,
You ever had anybody want to prepay their bill?
We do.
I guess,
Yeah,
I don't know why you
like
probably,
the
you
warrant sign and
couldn't,
all that,
but
like we,
if somebody's gonna be away or something, not here to pay the bill, but
Do we do that?
no.
All right, so this would be a January through a March thing, so do they have to be paid up by March? If they're still in
Yes.
January, for
Yes, and
example?
whatever is unpaid, that's what the interest.
it rolls over on
Yeah.
next year, right?
That's what you have to pay the interest on.
Is there a time thing? I mean, if the board wanted to hold on this, is that gonna, is there a time element?
I'm pretty sure she wanted us to.
There was something about,
It has to be approved by.
yeah, I saw that in here. I think it said October 2nd. If you're gonna do it, it has to be approved by October 2nd.
All right, so we
Yeah,
have.
we could put it off till the next meeting.
Wanna ask some questions and stuff?
Probably a good idea.
All
As far as
right,
I'm concerned.
you too, Tim?
Yeah, if you need to, sure.
Okay. We get-
I have questions now, because I was under the impression it was a completely
All
different
right,
thing.
all right.
Okay, so we're gonna
Since
pull
we'll
that.
have an opportunity to get our questions answered by Caroline and Kara and so forth, why don't we just pull consideration of 3.4 for now, and we'll put it on our the 25th.
One of the questions you may want to ask Caroline as well is, you have to make certain payments to the county when you're collecting taxes. So how will the county's portion be paid in full when it's due, when they're making these payments? Who's going to be paid off first?
All
So
right.
that may be, that should, in my opinion, that should be another question that should be asked as well.
All right, I'll
And
ask,
she probably knows the answer to that because I know she's been in discussions with Mike Swan about
yeah,
this.
all
Because
right,
again, that goes to, you know, the town's cash flow and
okay, no, that's good questions, I'll ask. Okay, anybody else have any thoughts they'd like to share with the town board on any of the resolutions? We are gonna pull 3.4 and get more information on it.
Travis Whitehead. Resolution 315, evidently 5 parcels were wrongly placed into this district. and-
One.
Excuse me?
One.
There was one parcel that
The
was
other 4
subdivided.
never existed. They were part of a large piece of property that
Right.
was on the shoreline.
Right.
And then that property got subdivided, and there's properties across the street that are no longer on the lake, or have lake rights, or
Right.
have anything to do with the lake.
So all this has to be corrected in Albany.
That's what we're told.
I know. So, I mean, this is a detail which is going to go ahead and cost us some efforts. And it's a shame. But,
Cost the district.
well, it'll cost the town probably in legal bills and such,
No,
and going
cost the
to,
district.
well, cost the district, okay, so our taxpayers, thank you, for things that weren't done correctly initially.
No, you're absolutely wrong. It was a parcel that was on the lake that was subsequently subdivided. It's no longer has lake access, so they want to
4 of
take it
those
off
no
the
longer.
district.
And then,
It's not done incorrectly, it was the timing of it.
and what about this island that was on there too?
No one knows why the island got.
There you go. So,
One.
that's just an example. A better example would be 319. Could you tell me which parcel, which tax number is going to be assessed at $5 million in 2017, 2018, and 2019, please?
The Kmart parcel.
There's like a number there.
49 Dix Avenue, tax map number 303.19-1-17.
All right. 303-19-1-17 is a tenth of an acre wetland owned by Ivan Bell. Has a total assessed value of $100. He's going to be amazed tomorrow when he finds out that he is assessed for $5 million. This is another error that, if you guys continue to pursue this, will go into the record and have to be corrected. So I just, would suggest that things, be looked at a little bit more carefully.
Can you verify that?
Is that so, John?
I'll look up.
What's that? All right, we'll look into that.
Well, I don't want to
Anybody
pass
else?
the resolution, John, if it's not the right parcel.
Well, I know that, when Kara's looking into it.
Oh, all right, she's doing it now. Okay, I'm sorry.
Anybody else like to speak to any of the resolutions before us tonight? All right, seeing none.
Give us 2 minutes, John.
I'm just spinning.
What's that?
It's coming, it's just spinning around.
John, why don't you vote on all the other resolutions?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can. All right, so for now, I will.
3, 4, and 319.
3, 4, and 319 up forward. All right, is there any other resolution that any town board member would like to have pulled for a roll call vote?
No.
All right, hearing none, we're looking at resolutions 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. If anyone moves those forward for
I'll
approval,
move them.
they do not include 3, 4, and 319 at this time. All right, moved by
3, 4, and
Councilman-
319 being pulled.
Okay. Moved by Councilman Brewer.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Medavere. Roll call vote on those resolutions I just mentioned.
Mr. Irish is absent. Mr. Brewer?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yeah.
Mr. Medavere?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
He's right. It's that parcel.
It's 71.
Right.
so it's not 17, it's 71.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you,
71.
Mr. Whitehead. You caught a typo, and it was an important one. And Thank you for that. So now we make the correction on Resolution 319. It's tax map number 303.19-1-71. That's correct, Kara?
Yep.
Okay.
303.19-1-71.
Instead of 17, it's 71.
It's also listed at 308, if that makes any difference.
I see it 2 different numbers in there.
All right.
So I'm not,
So, but that's the accurate one. And you're satisfied with that, Kara?
well, it's
Or you
in
want-
here. I don't know, I'm looking at these notes from Terry to see what because she had a comment about.
308 is, what's the lawsuit say? 308 is now assessed at $7 million.
Let me just double check. I see it in their notes. So the vacant lot shows up as, so the 303.19-1-71, that's the,
Parcel we're talking
yeah,
about.
that's the parcel that we're talking about. And it does show up on here as 308, but I don't know.
So it's showing up at 303 and 308?
No, it's the street number, like the 308.
308. So if the correct address is 308, then we'll
308.
change that as well.
308 Dix Avenue.
Dix Avenue or Quaker?
Dix Ave, yeah. Nothing came up nothing came up by this company on Quaker, just 2 parcels on Dix.
Okay.
So the address needs correction to 308 Dix Avenue.
Right.
And the tax map number is 303.19-1-71.
Correct.
Okay. I'll move with the
According to
corrections.
this, that roll.
Approved. Yeah.
All right, Councilman Brewer moved with the corrections to approve Resolution 319, authorizing settlement of petty loan pending Article 7 real property assessment cases. Okay, Mark. Is there a second? A seconded by Councilman Clements. Roll call vote on Resolution 3.19.
Mr. Brewer?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Medevere?
Yes.
Mr. Clements?
Yes.
Okay. Again, thank you, Mr. Whitehead.
Who's gonna go to school?
Any correspondence?
Yes. I have the monthly reports for community development, building and codes for both July and August, and they're on file in the town clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. Privilege of the floor. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to talk about a town issue before us. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. My name is Ron Montesi. I have some comments to make with regards to the town board. As a former town board member and a town supervisor, I feel I must comment on a situation on our town board. I'm appalled that Doug Irish has not resigned his Ward 3 town board seat. He has missed 5 meetings, and by the end of September will be 7 missed. In that time, he has also missed workshop, not to mention any and all of his Ward 3 taxpayers that might have had a problem or a concern over town issues. Doug Irish professes to be the taxpayer's watchdog. Well, right now, the only person he is really taking care of is Doug Irish. He has collected a pay for 3 months, has a stipend for his medical insurance, and hasn't showed up for any meetings. It is time for Doug Irish to resign and to allow George Ferrone to be appointed in his place, an appointment John Strow has said he would make. We have his word on that. I have been a loyal member of the Republican Party for 40 years, and I'm upset that the leadership has not pushed Doug to resign. Well, Doug is chairman of the Queensbury Republican Party, and he's also the campaign manager for the person running against John Strow in November. I'm not sure that teleconferencing is the answer because it'll only cost us some more money to do that. The answer is Doug was elected to serve the constituents of Ward 3, Queensbury, in person, not by phone. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Yes, sir?
Ron Ball, Queensberry. Speaking about Doug Irish, on Labor Day, I called Doug Irish about an issue with the water tower, water department up at the water tower off the West Mountain Road on Labor Day. 20 minutes later, Doug Irish showed up, and he was up there. And I discussed to length of what the issues were about drainage problems, how this town is collecting water in a ravine that's 200 feet long and another ravine coming from the water tower about 180 feet long. And then it's running through a drainage pipe, and then it's discharging onto my property. The end of the pipe is less than 9 feet away from the edge of my property. And the town of Queensberry wants me to excavate 8,000 yards off my land to build a house, to put dry wells in and catch basins, and I presume it's to catch this water that's coming off the water tower. Now, to get back to Ron Montesi, for years, Ron Montesi would be gone to Florida for 3 or 4 months a year, and nobody ever complained about Ron Montesi going to Florida. And all of a sudden, he's complaining about Doug Irish. Doug Irish is an outstanding citizen, and he's always worked to help everybody in the town of Queensberry. I give him a lot of support. And I made calls to other people in the town about different things, and some of them would get back to me, some of them were irritant about doing it. But Doug is very outstanding, and he should be supported. And he's going to find a way to get back, and he will be back. Thank you very much.
All right, but just for the record, as long as I've known Ron Montesi, when he was in office, he was never more than 2 weeks or so.
3 months a year, he'd go to Florida, a home in Florida.
You're crazy.
Not while he's in office.
Absolutely not.
That's not true, Mr. Ball. Okay. Yes.
Travis Whitehead. I have I'm not going to get into the whole controversy with Mr. Irish, but Mr. Irish actually did send me a piece of paper the other day, an email that had the tentative agreement that was being proposed by Gravity Renewals on a 20-year power purchase agreement that you guys are considering. And I did spend some time looking at that at his request. So he does still seem to be active. And I'm not going to talk about that issue, but I would like to talk about Gravity Renewables and what I found out there. And it would take more than 4 minutes to explain this. It's not an easy deal. It basically, you know, we pay 10 cents to Gravity Renewables. We end up getting a 14-cent credit from National Grid. But it's a credit, okay? It's not money. So if you don't have something to buy from National Grid, you can't use it. And the way that it's structured right now, this agreement, is that we will have to leave, and this is just an estimate, but over $70,000 a year for the next 20 years on the table, unspent, because we have no place to spend it. The solution, you know, would be to take less power from them, make this agreement smaller, and I think it will work. But even then, you have to look carefully at the assumptions that you're going to make over the next 20 years, and then ask yourselves whether or not an elected official, elected for 2 years, should really be trying to make a guess on what might be happening over the next 20. Because you can very easily go from a $10,000 gain, which is what they're proposing, to a $100,000 loss by the end of that 20 years, all depending on what might happen. So it's a crapshoot. And I don't think that you guys are in the business of gambling. So the big thing, though, is that the way it's structured now, you're going to end up with credits that you can't use, and a lot of them. So I've taken this to OMI, I've spoken with him. He acknowledges that there might be a problem there. And he is looking, he's trying to get some harder data to try to figure out how much he'd have to reduce it by. But when he figures that out and what that line might be, you just want to make sure that you have a little bit extra there. Because anything else you might do in energy efficiency over the next 20 years, if you start, spending and buying less electricity because you did something good for the environment, you might find out, well, I did something good, but now I'm stuck with more credits. So you don't want to get too tight there. And I'm just warning you that this is one of the elements you must consider.
I just had a quick question on that. The contract that they showed us, it was my understanding that was a draft contract.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's my understanding too, is for your consideration.
Okay, so when we look at a one that's finalized, we want to look at those things that you're talking about.
I believe that's true. And I believe all they're asking now, and John can correct me, I'm thinking what they're asking now is for just a general thumbs up. Are you interested at all before they put in a lot more work? And then maybe finalize things like this. And I think there's something in that agreement about a $7,000 payment or whatever, and whether it's refundable or not, I just don't quite understand all of that.
So a little more discussion with them would be very helpful, wouldn't it?
It would be, and you have to get into this level of discussion, to understand, just what it is you can do and whether you're going to get stuck with credits you can't use, for instance.
Yes, well, thank you. I had the same concern 3 years ago.
Yep.
And that's why it never moved forward.
Okay.
It came back again. I share your same concerns.
Thank you.
Yeah. But we will have that at the workshop on the 20th. Anybody else like to speak to the board?
Good evening, John Salvador for your record. Mr. Strauss, when your turn comes to speak, we would like to hear a report on the following projects in town. The Kerry Road Sewer District, the status of that project, the real property transfer law, and the Dunham's Bay Pollution Abatement Program.
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to accommodate.
Good evening. George Ferrone, 4 Sugar Pine Road. I am the candidate for Ward 3 come November. And my name's been in a lot of articles, as mentioned tonight, but I just thought I wanted to get up and just say that, while I am ready to step in and serve if I was asked to do so, I support Doug's position in that he's been elected by the people to serve through December 31st of this year, and he should continue to do so if he feels he can do so. I would also say that, from my perspective, he's been very communicative with me. He has kept me in the loop on things going on, and I can see from the correspondence he's remained, engaged with what's going on with the town. I realize he's not here, and that might be a problem for some people, but he has continued to do the job, so I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel Sieber, Supervisor at Large for the Town of Queensbury. I just wanted to bring up briefly that while I have no desire to engage in a political discussion tonight, it is interesting that Supervisor Montesi did, in fact, bring up misinformation. And I do want to correct the record that Doug Irish is not my campaign manager. I have about 27 people that sit on my campaign team. He is one of the members of our campaign team. In fact, probably a third of the people in this room are helpful in my campaign team. So just correction for the record. But more importantly, it's my comments, I do not want to focus on Councilman Irish. What I want to focus them on is that here we sit, 2017, and technology, while it's wonderful Look TV has come forward and sponsored these meetings, We still aren't seeing the meetings on YouTube. We're still only recording audio at the workshops. We're not seeing them be posted online like the county has. I was proud to sponsor the YouTube legislation at the county. We now have all of our committee meetings online so that the public can see how their elected officials are advocating for them. I would urge the town of Queensbury to look at that option. I think it costs the county very few dollars to have that up and going so that people could in fact see and hear their representatives. I also think, really, just thinking about the last few minutes or a few meetings that Councilman Brewer's been out due to a surgery and Councilman Clements has been out due to his surgeries. I've heard people whisper in the audience, boy, are we still paying them? You better believe it. You're entitled to be able to have a medical illness and still be paid for doing your job. And I know very well, and Tim, we haven't spoken recently, but when Brian was out, we spoke on a regular basis. He worked on town meetings, and that was completely acceptable. I think there needs to be some type of an allowance that allows people, if they're out on surgery, a one-time option. Perhaps someone's bringing their child to college. Perhaps they are on a vacation in Florida or perhaps Maine or somewhere else. We here at the town even had a meeting with Jennifer Switzer when she interviewed, and it was done via Skype. It didn't cost us any more money, but it allowed an important candidate to have an option of interviewing for a position. So I think there are many, many instances where we could be using technology that we're not using it. So I think it's a shame to focus this around one particular individual when in fact, I think all of us can recognize circumstances where being able to dial in, I know the requirement is legally you have to see the person on the screen and be able to interact. Even if, in fact, and I'm not sure what the attorney's ruling is in terms of voting, it would be important discussion to be able to still add to that. I know what goes on behind the scenes in email. I know what's going on in phone calls. It certainly could be going on open in the public and transparent for our taxpayers. I know I would appreciate that, and certainly we've been successful for that at a countywide level, and I think it's time for the town of Queensbury to also join in that. So I just wanted to, one, correct the record, but two, offer the successes we've had at the county with that type of legislation, again, costing barely nothing to be able to do those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Catherine Atherton, Coolidge Avenue, Queensbury. I just wanted to express my dismay, I guess, at the idea of a person who's been elected by the taxpayers to be present at board meetings is asking, who has moved out of the area, it's not medical, it's not an emergency, it's someone who has decided to change his life and to move to out of area. Video conferencing is a great tool, and I've used it a lot in my career. But for this instance, I really think it's not the right thing to do. A person who is supposed to be representing the citizenry, to be present, to work as a team in the board, to go on site visits, to actually sit down and have a cup of coffee with a constituent who has an issue, should be here. To me, it's really very, very simple. I don't know what the law is. I don't know what the policies are. But it doesn't seem to be an effective way for someone to serve the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Carpenter, Town of Queensbury on 149. John, we had a discussion approximately a year, maybe a year and a half ago on my property and Mr. Quinn's property up front, the restaurant. It was the old Blue Roof restaurant on 149.
Yes.
We had talked about getting the property, my property, and possibly his property switched back to commercial residential. Is that how you call that?
It's neighborhood commercial.
Neighborhood commercial. And I looked on the internet on the tax maps last week, and it's still rural residential. Did anything ever get
No, you
done?
have to, I can't act on an oral request.
Okay.
You have to submit something in writing, John,
Okay.
requesting that change.
Okay.
and we'll consider it.
Okay, because of the stuff that's going on, you know, with Toby's corner lot there, you know, it's just, I want to get my property
All right.
switched back to commercial.
Chris, we talked about that, though.
Something was talked about it, I believe, but I
I
don't,
mean, that right there,
in the workshop.
everything around you is neighborhood commercial.
yeah, I only went to my property and Mr. Quinn's property.
I know that the corner southwest of you is neighborhood commercial. Stewart's is neighborhood commercial.
Yes.
That other, yeah, so this.
And across where the restaurant is,
Yeah.
that's neighborhood
That's,
commercial.
yeah.
The property behind him
is neighborhood.
on Ridge Road is neighborhood commercial also, so,
Yeah, well, John, come on in,
okay,
and we'll go through the formal request with you,
okay.
all right?
All right, just come to the,
Yeah, come to my
John,
office
that's-
and we'll get you started.
You can email me at
okay, okay.
Queensberry.net.
Yeah, because, I mean, if I live there,
Yeah,
and if I ever wanted to start a business, I'd be doing it illegally
right.
in
Okay.
the town, so.
Yeah, well,
Simple.
come on in, we'll take care of you.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to the board? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to the next item. Town board discussions.
I go, oh, never mind, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not your turn.
No, I was gonna ask you
Tony.
something else. It's fine. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm fine. I've
Okay.
got nothing to add. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
All right, Tony.
I think I'm good tonight. Thanks.
Brian?
I have a number of things, yes.
Okay.
See, the first thing is the pickleball courts. I went up to Jenkinsville today and looked at those. They're really very nice. They did a nice job doing those, and it looks like they're gonna be open on October 1st. It should be a good place to play pickleball. Looks great.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
So the other day, Sunday morning, my wife and I are sitting on the porch. It was early. It was like 8:05, so it's early. And we hear this roar, and then some more roar, and some more roar. So she said, "What do you think that is?" I said, "Well, it's obviously Jenkinsville. What do you think's going on?" I said, "I don't know. It could be soccer, it could be softball, it could be pickleball." It was all three. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the soccer field is full, the softball field is full, but the pickleball courts were jam-packed.
Really?
It was unbelievable.
What is pickleball?
Well,
Small tennis
small
court.
tennis court.
Okay. I hope I'm not the only one that doesn't know what it is.
My concern, have we ever had any complaints about it being too early in the morning on a Sunday?
Not yet. Not that I know
Only
of.
by you tonight.
It's not a complaint, but I thought to myself.
It's a good thing,
it's
Tony.
Early, and you could just hear this roar, constant roar, but it was
Yeah.
just early, so I just wondered if anybody has ever said
It's a
anything.
new big hit. I'll be there October 1st. I have to say a little something. And it's supposed to be, somebody's supposed to challenge me on pickleball. I've never played pickleball. So I've read up on the rules real quick. And not finding a partner real easy. But we'll get there.
All right, but at least
Yeah.
our fields are getting used.
They
So
sure
my
are.
apologies, but I just had.
That's okay. Okay. I've got to say something about the Republican Party primary that was reported in the Post-Star. Councilman Medevere saying that a new law that would require all property sellers to have their septic systems checked and fixed if needed before closing on the sale would be your greatest accomplishment is, I think, a little self-serving. Councilman Medevere, let's give credit where credit's due. You and I both know that Jim Mackey, sitting right out there, spent more hours, weeks, and probably months working on a property transfer law document than we did combined. And now Kathy Bozzoni has taken the ball and is shepherding that law to a conclusion with the help of our new, less expensive law firm. I've worked on this law as well, but neither of us can take all the credit for this legislation. When completed, most of it will have a shared effort with a lot of help from citizens other than board members. Overall, I feel the board should do more to accomplish things with input from citizens in a team effort.
And let me just comment on that, Brian. And Kathy, if you're out there, Kathleen Moore can concur that I said I take no credit for any of this, that it has been grassroots efforts from citizens in the community, and us as a town board has worked with them to get the job done. And in this particular case, Jim Mackey has done all the work. My point was, if we could get a law passed before you guys boot me out of office, Brian, I would be very pleased. But I never took credit for any of the work that was done. All I meant to say was I would be very happy to see something passed. And Kathleen can concur with that because we had that conversation.
Take your foot off.
To quote from the Post-Star, Medivere is now working on a law that would require all property sellers to have their septic systems checked and fixed if needed.
And that's accurate.
Before closing on the sale. If the law passes, he said, it would be his greatest accomplishment.
Yeah, I read that.
There it is.
All right, our greatest accomplishment. But my point was, since you guys want me out of office so bad, if we can get this done before you get me out of office, that would be my greatest
I agree we should get it done. I just think that maybe the credit should go to some people
I said, and read
deserve
it again, that I can't take credit for any of this stuff. It's all been grassroots effort. But all things considered, Ron Montesi is actually the one that started this process years ago.
Well, maybe we should be talking to the Post-Star about how they report things then.
Well,
video conferencing.
Waste
I also
of money.
have something to say about video conferencing. I would like to move forward and implement video conferencing for the town of Queensbury. I've been talking about it and some other related technologies for at least 2 years now. When I was out for several weeks in February, I didn't know that video conferencing was used in the town to interview Jennifer Switzer until I read it in the Post-Star last Thursday. Had I known that was taking place, I would have asked Supervisor Stroud to use it with me also while I was out. Say a little bit more about Mr. Irish working. He's been working on the siren problem going on with the firehouse, the speed limit at Prospect School, some paving issues. He's been talking with Dave Duell and a constituent, Wendy Schulmeyer. Besides this instance with Councilman Irish, which I think is very appropriate for video conferencing, I've missed meeting myself with my knee replacement surgeries, as it was said tonight. I have, and I know Mr. Irish has also, both initiated and answered emails and phone calls from Queensbury employees, town board members, constituents, and I know Councilman Irish has even met personally with Ron Ball on a project which Ron talked about tonight while he was home over Labor Day. I even signed a document that was brought to my house by you, John, Supervisor Stroud, during my recovery. But I still would have preferred to participate in the workshops and regular town board meetings via live video conference. I know from my personal experience in this town government, on the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Assessment Board of Review, there have been many, many instances when members of other Queensbury boards have been out of town on business in Florida, for example. And I'm not talking about you, Ron, I'm talking about some other board members for extended periods of time, or vacationing with family who also could have benefited from this technology. I know Councilman Brewer, although he's here tonight, could and would benefit from this while he's out with shoulder surgeries. The town and the taxpayers could offer vendor presenters, engineers, town employees, constituents during public hearings, the Lake George Association, governmental agencies like the Lake George Park Commission, the Adirondack Park Agency, DEC, and many other local and state and federal elected and appointed officials the optional benefit from this technology. I can think of several instances when we have asked and got some questions, when we could have asked and got some questions answered immediately of 3 local officials in Glens Falls, Lake George, and Fort Ann when discussing issues concerning both our communities at several of our workshops. I implemented video conferencing at Lake George School over 12 years ago, and have been using video conferencing technology at SUNY Plattsburgh through SUNY Adirondack for 10 years. My 7-year-old granddaughter uses it FaceTime on a daily basis. I think it's time we discussed implementing this in conjunction with some other technology services that would be of great benefit to our taxpayers and help provide more open government. To that end, I will be meeting with our IT provider, Stored Tech, this week to discuss some possible offerings in this area for the town, and I invite any citizens to contact me if they would like to be involved. A special thanks. I would like to personally thank the citizens that show up at almost every meeting. So thanks George Steck, John Salvador, Travis Whitehead, George Winters, Jim Mackey, Ron Ball, and all the others that challenge us to make the best decisions for our citizens in the community. The last thing I had to say was our thoughts and prayers are with the 9/11 victims, first responders, and all the families today, especially. Thank you.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
And with the people with all the floods.
Yeah, well, it's devastating. I mean,
Yeah, it certainly is. Not good, John.
okay. All right. The grand opening, I got it right here, Sunday, October 1st, for pickleball. Whatever it is, I'll find out. News from West Mountain. West Mountain Bike Park opened in July. It's receiving rave reviews for its cross-country downhill mountain biking trails, lessons, and rentals. The EDC has put out a little note on that. So they're trying to make their season 365. I'll do that later as part of my closing. I'll do that a little bit. Well, now Floyd Batiste has been coming in. He had a culvert issue with his place. There's a culvert that goes under Haviland over by his house, and he's been flooded, or at least that July 1st rainfall caused a lot of problems. And culverts that, you know, will work most of the time, excuse me, didn't work then. Anyhow, did you know that there was a racetrack off of Luzerne Road?
I did.
You did?
Off of Luzerne Road?
Yeah. Did you know that? Some of you guys back there knew it.
Up past the firehouse on the right?
No, I think, was it over by the mobile home, right?
Yep, where the mobile place, yep.
Yeah. So anyhow, he's got pictures of his crashes and everything else there, and he's got some of the people that used to race. Bob Jennings was the announcer. Stan and Floyd Batiste were members. Bob Lanfear was one of the racers. Wally LaBelle, George Tubbs, Braggy and Earl Malley, and a whole bunch of other locals were involved with that. Of course, Tom McDermott, Paul McDermott, Ron Jekyll, you know, some of these were sponsoring races and everything else. I just never knew that. I love local history, especially when somebody comes around and tells me something I did not know. I didn't know anything about this racetrack off of Luzerne Road. Anyhow, so if you know anything more, we got pictures on that. The town historian's working on it right now.
Quarter mile dirt track.
Quarter mile dirt track. All right, and anything else you might know, you know, we'll put it with the town historian. I think this is fascinating stuff. Steve Gersler wrote that, you know, some of the work that they're doing on Ridge Road and elsewhere, the separation work, is working. They are reducing stormwater from entering the sanitary sewer system. And these include dry wells, sewer separation, lateral sewer, and sewer mains are all contributing to mitigating that situation that John Salvador constantly brings up. So they're working on it, John. Mr. Tierney is thankful. There were some trees on his property that were bowed over on Ridge Road, and they were state trees, and I called the state, and they came up and removed them. John Petrangelo would like to thank us for the work we did on John Brook Road and fixing that culvert as fast as we could, while declaring an emergency. Nielsen used to be Qtbm. Now it's Nielsen. Forbes names it as one of the world's most innovative companies. You know anything about the Nielsen company, George?
They bought the company after I had left.
Yeah. Anyhow, darn good article out of Forbes magazine on Nielsen and all the things it's going into. It's going to a lot of high-tech adventures, whole new programs. I'm just saying this because it's now in Queensbury, and it's a very innovative, proactive company. Forbes is recognizing it, so hooray for Nielsen. Also, hooray to the Holiday Inn Express. They had their grand opening, and Tim, you went there for me. I was out of town, so I couldn't make it.
Do it.
Thank you for doing that. And you report that it's beautiful inside.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. Like, unlike any other Holiday Inn around. It's a new prototype, I guess. So I'm told.
Did they show you any of the rooms and such?
I didn't stay for that. I made an appearance and looked at the stuff inside the lobby and the computer readiness, and they've got an outdoor pool and heated floors and all kinds of good stuff for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really nice place.
Well,
they do a wonderful job.
Welcome to Queensbury.
Yep.
Dick Young of the Lakeside Chapel wrote Tony and I, and didn't think we deserved the boo, and that they only focused on part of the story, and that he thanks both you and I for going up there and meeting with them and working out and resolving the problem. And so that was encouraging that somebody takes the time to write to us. Halfway Brook Cleanup, August 29th. Some of the people that showed to clean up Halfway Brook, Leon Steves, Greg Brown, Dan and Peter Stack, Chris Round, Jim Liebram, Nick Rowell, Warren Rosenthal. About 16 people showed up to help clean up Halfway Brook. I want to thank everybody. Also, as you know, we had the ribbon cutting for SUNY Adirondack. And what a great community college. What a great college. And we have it right here in Queensbury. And we just cut the ribbon for the NSTEM building, the nursing, science, engineering, mathematics, and the workforce development should be open by next year. And that college is so innovative, so helpful to students in getting through. If you're having a hard time, they recognize that, they're tracking you, and they have a help program. And they're calling themselves a community hub. And you know what? They are in so many ways. So we're so lucky to have them. And I want to thank Warren and Washington County for sponsoring that great organization. The Assembly Point Water Quality Coalition. The town of Queensbury acts on septic issues. In their newsletter number 9, the town of Queensbury has undertaken 4 initiatives to safeguard that private septic systems do not pollute Lake George. Continued sewage pollution has closed Lake George $1 Million Beach for a number of days, both in 2016 and 17. Recent research on water currents from the Jefferson projects estimates the pollution from Lake George Village could reach Assembly Point within 24 hours. An important initiative was the creation of the North Queensbury Wastewater Disposal District Number 1 in December 2014, which was a joint effort of the Dundas Bay Association and the town. The district became a New York State recognized responsible management entity, which enabled it to qualify for state, federal, and not-for-profit funding. The district is up and running with 14 septic systems replaced, and $92,000 has been received in matching grants from the Fund for Lake George through 2017, which is available to property owners within the RME. Water quality is improving according to recent findings. The town of Queensbury has been concerned about the fragility of septic systems on Cleverdale and Rockhurst since 27, when it proposed a septic management district for Rockhurst. This proposal was rejected. However, recently, Rockhurst has received a grant for $10,000 for an engineering study for a centralized wastewater treatment system. Queensbury residents within 500 feet of Lake George and its watercourses have received a questionnaire from the town asking for information about their septic systems and maintenance. This initiative will create a town database and provide information on the importance of aquatic wastewater treatment. In 2014, the APWQC undertook a partial review of the septic information available from town records. The town's information was incomplete in terms of septic system types, location, age, and maintenance. Since 60% of the houses on the point were built before 1980, their systems should be antiquated. The coalition urges all residents to reply to this questionnaire as soon as possible. And the town of Queensbury has drafted a separate septic system transfer regulation, which will require that septic systems pass inspection when a house is being sold. Our Ward 1 representative, Tony Medevere, has been instrumental in developing this important regulation. And then it goes on to mention our fertilizer control laws and everything else. So this town board has been very active in environmental affairs, and it's nice to get the acknowledgement. I want to thank the Assembly Point Water Quality Coalition for that. Let's see, did that. The YMCA sends this town board a thank you for our supporting them. A lot of Queensbury kids went to camp because of the Queensbury taxpayers helping to fund that. We got the certificate of final state equalization rate for Queensbury for this year. We are at 100%. So we're keeping to our word. Our assessment office did their own reassessment, saved us a lot of money, and we're staying at 100% evaluation every year, instead of like every 3 or 4 years paying out $300,000 to get reassessed. We're staying on top of it. Saving the taxpayer monies, it's keeping us at 100% valuation. Now, my supervisory report to board and community. August 25th, let's start with that. I met with some Hicks Road people. Their fence location is on our water department easement area. We're trying to work out some solutions. On Sunday, August 27th, we did a site visit, parking along Cleverdale Road. I attended service, like I promised, at the Cleverdale Lakeside Chapel. It was excellent service. It's talked about forgiving others, and I thought it was very good. And it was very nice meeting Richard and Jean Meyer, Richard Young, Jean Tarrant, and many of the other attendees. Beautiful chapel built in 1921. Monday, August 28th, I helped do the Lake George Asian Clam survey with Dave Wick and Joe Johns. He's the Lake George Park Commission Director of Law Enforcement, and Kristen Wild, who was the LGA Director of Education. We searched the northern shore, found no Asian clams. That's good. August 29th, Tuesday, we met to discuss the Dundas Bay algae response strategy. I developed a flow chart, John, on that, like I promised. And I know that's one of the things you wanted me to update you on, along with 2 others, which I'll get to. You don't have an email.
I do.
All right, well, please give it to me and allow me to send because we do have updates to this, and I do send them out in email, but I didn't have your email address. So I'll backlog that. All right, I did some administrative work at town. Visited the Ridge Road Transfer Station with Dick Sears, and Councilman Clements and Medevere were with me. We discussed the issues up there, like lack of space, and Dick Sears is wishing to get paid for the gripping, grinding, and chipping of town material that during a storm event far exceeds what anybody anticipated. And We're awaiting Real Bark Mulch's interest. Tim Brewer had made a contact with Real Bark Mulch to see if they're interested in it. Have you
I haven't
heard
heard back
anything
from Dan, but I'll give him a call tomorrow.
All right, Tim, thank you. Wednesday, August 30th, met with the departments, discussed their budgets. We're looking in real good shape. We're trimming where we can. Also, other issues come up while we're talking about budgets. Building and grounds needs a replacement employee. They're down one employee. They need a new copier. They want to rebid the state police barracks exterior work. We have a need for 2 new salt sheds in the town, and there's an issue with pigeon control we're working on. Planning and zoning department. We need to increase fees to better represent the cost to the particular people who are using our planning and zoning departments. They're having problems with their plotter. The town clerk's office has offered to share their plotter with them. That's a temporary solution anyways. And there was another discussion about getting tablets for planning and zoning board members. The paper costs, the postage costs, the handling costs, and all the members at Universal Planning and Zoning Board members would like to go to a tablet.
I'm sure they would.
Also, using our GPS personnel, George Hilton, for highway culvert and stormwater collection systems. We've got to start mapping those, and we've got to put software
Can I
in.
interrupt you there? Didn't we have Bill Hughes do all that?
There's nothing in the system.
I thought
Bill Hughes.
Bill Hughes used to work for the highway department. He was a foreman, and after he retired.
When?
Just let me finish, John. I thought we had him map when we had to do this new, Jennifer may recall.
Gatsby 34.
Gatsby 34, we had to do that. We had to map them all, didn't we?
I don't think it included the culverts. It included water, sewer.
Yeah, so we may have that, and maybe just not the culverts. I'm thinking we do.
GPS shows the location of where they are.
Well, I thought we hired him for one whole summer to do
We may have a
that.
list for the purposes of accounting, because all you have to do is figure out the
Account for 'em.
estimated value. What we don't have is a GPS location.
I thought he went out and located
What
them,
we
John.
don't have is a maintenance record. That's what I'm getting at. We don't have a maintenance record on what was done when. When was it checked?
Let's look back and see. I understand what you're
All
saying.
right,
Let's
we'll
look
come
back
on.
and see
You're
what he
in all
did
the
when
time.
we had
When you
him.
come in next time, we'll look at it.
All right.
John, isn't the MS4 that Soil and Water is doing for the town?
Well, the Halfway Brook cleanup and some of the other work, yes, it is. And this would go and coincide with that. You're right, Ron. You're right. Building and codes needs a new scanner plotter. We need to increase the fee schedule. The town clerk would like to upgrade their Laserfish software program. One of the things it would do is make life world easier. And not only that, it will better monitor FOIL requests. And it will make it easier for those who wish to get town information to get that town information on their own. So we're looking at that upgrade.
That's in conjunction with the cloud computing thing too, right?
No, this is kind of separate. But the Laserfish software program that they're proposing would be compatible with sending it to a cloud.
That's what we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, well, we already did, and it is compatible.
It is.
Yeah. Meeting with Russ Fadden to discuss 75 Main Street, his Subway place. He would like to put a single-story bank up there, and he wants to go through the planning progress. It's sitting there vacant, and he figures something there would be better than nothing. And then I had a Warren County Safe and Quality Bicycle meeting, and then, same day, I attended and spoke at an event sponsored by North Country Climate Realty. Overviewed the town's progress in obtaining grant money as part of the Clean Energy Communities Program. Thursday, August 31st, I had county committee meetings, Legislative and Rules Committee, I had Finance Committee. Then I had more department budget meetings and other discussions, and I had a SUNY Adirondack Board of Trustees meeting. September 1st, Friday, more budget work on the town court, highway, historian, parks and rec. More administrative work at town. I came in Sunday, Labor Day weekend, I was here. Monday, Labor Day, I was here working. September 5th, Tuesday, I met with Laura Coles to discuss better promotion of the area, especially our hotel and retail industry. September 6th, on Wednesday, I met with town council Mike Crowe, we discussed something like 21 legal issues before the town. Council Clements asked for a meeting. We met with Sean Hammond and Jason Chekla of Rise Engineering to discuss their energy saving findings and proposal for our 2 town buildings, that being the town office and activity center. It would include retrofitting existing lighting fixtures with LEDs. That is going to get discussed more.
With Travis too, was there?
Travis was there as well. Paul Gatz of BST Accounting reviewed their audit of the town's finances for the 2016 year. We reviewed the town's statement of net position and statement of activity. They reviewed proprietary funds, governmental funds and activities, which includes general, highway, cemetery, lighting districts. They reviewed fiduciary funds, business type activities like water, sewer, and landfill. They also audited 2 town departments, town clerk and park and rec. And the town was praised for its sound financial planning and being in accord with all applicable government accounting standards. Our stress test, we passed 4 out of 5 categories. The weakest category was debt service. Our solution to that problem is moving forward is to not bond, but fund as much as possible through fund balances our capital expenditures. Thursday, September 7th, attended a post-flood emergency stream intervention training where we discussed stream mechanics, deposition, aggregation, hydraulic structures, imbrication, avulsion, and many other stream things. Things that municipal leaders need to know if they're going to effectively deal with these kind of emergencies. I also got an opportunity to network with many DEC folks, which I think will be rewarding in the future. September 8th, Friday, I met with Rockhurst representatives Steve C. Boyer, Tom Sargent, and Tony Medevere was present, and we discussed updates on investigating community sewer system and a permeable road there. Then we went to SUNY Adirondacks NSTEM building, ribbon cutting, and it rained hard. But we still went through the ribbon cutting, and it's a beautiful building with the latest in technologies. We all should be very proud. Today, Monday, or no, September 11th, yeah, we had a meeting to discuss the Aviation Road, Church, Queensbury Union Free School District, Main Street entrance signalization. As you know, we've been working on for a long time. One of the reasons why it's taken such a long time is we wanted to do the job right. We didn't want to put taxpayer money into a signalization that's not going to work long time. So we've developed a 3-phase program that will help bring the traffic corridor level of service to at worst C. Levels of service goes A, B, C, D, E. I've explained it before. F is failing. A is excellent. As you know, we are in F at certain times of the day in front of that school because of the configuration there. So we have a new configuration with right-hand turning lane and another signal, and that will bring, once that's all in full capacity, that will mean that level C will be the worst that we see in that area, at least for the next 10 years. So the new electronics that we got for the new system has to work with the whole picture down the road, which is going to take at least 2 years to complete. It will, and in the middle part of October, they're going to install that. And it will be triggered by traffic coming into. Aviation Road will be treated as the main thorough street, and the light will stay green unless triggered by traffic coming from the side. That's what everybody wanted. That's what you will get. And not only that, you're going to get in the next 2 years a much improved corridor in front of the school. It's going to be a whole wireless system, new, modern, and so forth. And that should be done by the end of October. And we have a town board meeting. Now, John, the Cary Road sewer. I called the comptroller's office today, and they said they were looking for more information from us. So I emailed Kara, and she's going to work on that and should get an update. You're going to call there and find out.
No, we know the 2 things that they want. So we've got the affidavits that they're looking for. They're looking for additional affidavits. That wasn't on their initial list. And then the second thing is, with respect to our legal opinion, they want us to also give our own separate opinion in addition to the opinion that Miller Mannix provided. So we'll get that out to you.
So, that's the update there, John. Cary Road Sewer?
Where does the DEC stand with their approval?
And
I don't,
I mean, I don't think, this is just to form the special district. So that's what the controller's office is reviewing right now. We're not working on anything with DEC. They wouldn't approve the formation of the district itself. This is requirement under town law that the controller's office has to approve.
I understand.
I don't know about the DEC.
But DEC is a part of the approval process as well.
all right, John, well, we'll get through the approval process. I'm telling you where we are now, and if DEC requires approvals, we'll get them, okay? All right. The other thing is the property transfer law that we've been working on is on the way. We had the meeting, remember the algae committee met that is looking at what can we do? Does algae really mean a failing septic system? We don't know that for sure. So we had a discussion with legal counsel. Mike Crow was there with us. And
Excuse me, sir. How can you say that when the very basis for our forming that RME was the fact that we were experiencing algae pollution?
that was one of the reasons. John, you didn't let me finish. So the committee met with the algae concerns. What can we do with the algae growth? Some types of algae are indicative of organic pollution. All right, so Chris Novitsky is working to hone down just what types are indicative of such. And if we find that there are algae types that are indicative of organic pollution, then the next would be to just try and investigate as to their source. Is it on land stormwater? Is it a failing septic system? What properties seem to be the areas where it's localized, where it's caused? And what can the town do about it at this point? Well, we agreed that we would ask for voluntary cooperation from the adjacent landowners, especially since we have found algae off of their properties that indicate organic pollution. All right, if we get their cooperation, good. We'll go to the next step and check their septic systems if we have their cooperation. We will look at the terrain configuration, the geographic configuration, to see if there's stormwater flow that's contributing to this organic pollution. And so, I did develop a flow chart that I did send out to everybody at that committee meeting with some basic understandings. Kathy Bozzoni has taken it and she's added some more material to it and she's updated it. I have not received her updates yet. She's still working on it. When we receive those and you give me your email, John, I will share that with you.
We have been at what you are.
All right, John, I'm just giving you the updates I can add.
We have been at what you are talking about for 3 years. 3 years we've been at it. We've already done all this.
Okay, John. So, anyhow, at that algae issue committee meeting, we also updated some of the property transfer law. We're getting one step closer to getting it defined. And I put out an email, an outline of the upgrades, and I sent it out to everybody, town board included, in red. Those were the upgrades. So we're having another meeting, a workshop, on the 13th to talk about the property transfer law even further. So it's alive and well and making progress. What?
I did.
Yeah.
He didn't, he just said he did.
The 13th is a workshop? Because I got an email back from Victoria that said that wasn't a workshop.
The Wednesday?
Yeah.
If anytime you have more than 2 town board members,
It's gotta
it
be
has
a
to
workshop.
public workshop.
That's what I thought. Victoria
Well,
said no.
At the
In an
time,
email.
the only person that said they were attending was Tony. Now you're attending, now it becomes
And I'm attending.
public. I mean, maybe that's what Victoria was going for.
Because originally I said I couldn't go, Brian, because I figured work, but I'm not working, so I'm able to go.
Okay.
Now it'll be 5 of us, right? 4 of us.
So, all right, so those are the updates on the Cary Road, the property transfer law, and the algae issue, John. And that also concludes my supervisor's report to Board of Community.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, I want to thank Joe Barlow, our cameraman, and Look TV, and our sponsors, especially Stored Tech. And I wish you all a very happy and joyful evening. Thank you for coming.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made to adjourn, made by Councilman Brewer, seconded by Councilman Clements. Those in favor say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. We're adjourned.
This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.